I'm JJ. Welcome. I'm outside today just because it's way too hot to film inside, and I wanted to participate in Wednesdays with Will. So I've read all of Shakespeare's works, unless I have not read his works that were attributed to him, but not part of his like complete collection. So I still have to read Edward the Third. I should have read that when I read the rest of his histories and stuff, especially since it leads into it, but I have not. I have read and enjoyed The Rape of Lucrece. I thought that was interesting. He did a very thoughtful and almost haunting retelling of this story, or this myth, I guess, that he's famous for is his interpretation of things. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. Is I prefer his tragedies and his histories, which anyone who's followed my channel at all lately has it should be of no surprise that I prefer that to his comedies. The exception being, I really did like, as my shirt will say, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Just it's very quotable and fun, and who doesn't like fantasy in their Shakespeare? And also, I really enjoyed Measure for Measure. I know his comedies are just considered, they have a happy ending, as in nobody dies, but I don't fully consider Measure for Measure a comedy because it deals with such tough subject matter. So that's probably why I preferred that one to some of his other stuff. That being said, I did not like Henry the Fourth. Henry the Fourth, any of the parts. I just yes, Hotspur, yes, Henry the Fourth, but I hated the character of Flagstaff. And I think it's just because I'm not, a comedy type of person, so his comic relief was just not interesting to me, which is unfortunate since they also did this Shakespeare version of a spinoff, which was Merry Wives of Windsor, which featured Flagstaff and romantic situation type of snafus and all that stuff. And so that one was actually one of the worst things I've ever read personally. I just did not enjoy that at all. I'm sorry for all the traffic, by the way. But I really did enjoy his tragedies and his histories. And I love history, so that's probably why I preferred his histories. Like in Henry V has the famous St. Crispin's Day speech that features the line Band of Brothers, which is taken in context with a lot of war movies, including a documentary sort of series. I guess it would be like a documentary docu-drama type of series, Band of Brothers. And then Joan of Arc was featured in Henry the Sixth, and you deal with the 30 Years' War, and then you're getting into the War of the Roses, which is the part in history that I really enjoy. I think it's very telling, though, that he skipped. He did Henry the Fourth and he did Richard the Third, but he never did a specific Edward the Fourth, which I just found amusing. Who he likes and who he doesn't like in history, including the fact that he hated and would not write about Henry the Seventh. Which I do not blame him with his treatment of Catherine. But it just made me think, and so I pose this question to you. What historical events or people would you like to you wished would have had the Shakespeare treatment? So current history, contemporary politics, like anything that you think would have been amusing for Shakespeare to either satirize, which I'm really sure he would do that with our American president right now. But I just always found that fascinating because of his take on different mythologies and stuff. So like with Titus Andronicus, who was kind of inspired or very much inspired by Ovid's Metamorphoses, and that one I actually really liked. A lot of people really absolutely hate all the violence. But the violence is in all the stuff that people hated was very much part of what he got from Metamorphosis, which you can't really, I guess, blame him for that. And then his take on the Iliad, which I talked about in an earlier story, Cressida and Triolis. So that was, I found that one entertaining and fun. And then, like, you know, his take on Joan of Arc, which, you know, kind of hit or miss there. And obviously his interpretation of Richard III, which, you know, he's writing for, you know, Elizabeth, and so of course he's not going to be taking any of the York side, so, or not the York side, the Lancaster side. And so I just, now I'm questioning myself. He wouldn't take Richard or Edward's side, which is probably why he never wrote the Edward play, and then he completely basically villainized Richard III, which, you know, he's fun to make into a villain. Anyway, so I kind of would have liked to see his take on the Medici family, and I think just because I'm obsessed with the Catherine de Medici and Mary Queen of Scots era, I just would have almost, as much as I would have liked the Shakespeare exploration of those things in history, he was on the opposite side of all of those, so he would have probably dehumanized them very much the same way that Dumas did in Queen Margot, and villainized Catherine. So I'm not sure if I would, but I just like to do that as a thought project of kind of like historical fan fiction based on Shakespeare type of thing, just to consider what his take on each of these things would have been. And so if you do like Shakespeare but have read a lot of his stuff, I do suggest there's a book called Shakespeare in a Divided America by James Shapiro, and that kind of explores how polarizing Shakespeare or America is, but through Shakespeare you can read the same play, watch the same play, be obsessed with the same characters, and take away completely different versions of them to go with your means and to support your means, which people do in history all the time. But I just feel like it's very, since Shakespeare has been along for so long, I think it's very interesting how he influences at least American culture in that way. And just how he keeps coming up in history, whether you know, different quotes and stuff from the presidents, or the fact that John Wilkes Booth, a Shakespearean actor, killed, you know, President Lincoln, and just I find that fascinating, how involved in American history is. So what I think would have been a fun story for his point of view, had he been around, would be the American Revolution and his version of King George III. So we get a bit of a parody of King George with Hamilton the musical, and so like to have it be from Shakespeare's point of view, where he would do maybe a parody of Washington and Jefferson and Adams, or perhaps even when you get into the war with the French, and have it be affected, you know, like his take on Napoleon, his take even just on, I forget his name now. Oh, never mind. I'll write it in the in below if I remember. But I just, Lafayette. That was who I was trying to think of. His take on Lafayette, kind of working, you know, in the, you know, American Revolution and then the French Revolution, and just, you know, his portrayal of him. And I feel like he could have portrayed some of these in a way that he did like with Hamlet and Macbeth, whereas like he's telling a story, he's trying to be subversive to his English audience. So he fictionalizes the areas it's from, or says that it's about a villain from their past or something already, but you can tell that he's infusing it with the stuff of his day. And I just, yeah, I guess maybe I'm the only one who's ever thought that deeply about it, but I just really would wonder how he would view politics today, especially American politics, but worldwide politics. And I just, his wit and his satire and sarcasm and his way of being able to subvert that kind of stuff, I would like to see how he would portray different people. Putin, like it would be interesting. And so that being said, I just, please write I would like to have a conversation. What's your favorite Shakespeare play? Why? What is your favorite part in history that like you would want him to kind of talk about? And then also, where do you think his influences were beyond that? Like, I'm not a Jane Austen scholar by any means. I've only read her books. I haven't really done a whole lot of research of her, but her witty banter for her heroines and her their romantic interest is very reminiscent of Shakespeare. Shakespeare perfected the enemies to lovers trope. As much as I am not a fan of his comedies, I do have appreciation for so many of them, especially for the strong heroines that he gives us, and just the witty dialogue and banter. And it's really hard to think that she wasn't influenced by him. And like we know that Steinbeck was. He used many of his books are quotes from him. Faulkner was. The Sound and the Fury, one of his quotes. I do intend to do that in a later story, a video when I talk about my Steinbeck summer. I am going to talk about his influences and stuff a little bit, and I will mention Shakespeare there. But this was just my kind of ode to Shakespeare, my inner workings. Now you'll know how why I get down so many rabbit holes and have so many different tastes. I think deeply about like the most random things that other people might not. And if you do, please let me know that I'm not alone here. So anyway, happy Wednesdays with Will.